everybody, I'm Ray and welcome back to RaiMagination. This video has been about a month and a half in the making. My brother Luke, who is an awesome artist in himself, referred a commission to me that he thought that I would enjoy, and boy did I. The granddaughter of my client said one day that when she grew up, she wanted to be a dragon, and that just tickled my client's creative fancy. My client Kathy, no, not the aunt I drew the patriotic piano for, said that she wanted a little girl laying in the grass with a dragon in the background and saying somewhere, "When I grow up, I want to be a dragon." Kathy also said that this was something she intended for her granddaughter to keep and grow up with and maybe get a tattoo of someday. So I knew the focal point would be the dragon, and I chose to have the little girl facing away from the viewer so that she can be any age and relatable at any stage of her life, especially when she grows up to be that dragon. Kathy had sent me some pictures of dragons that she liked from the internet, and I tried a few different poses for the dragon before deciding that the simplest would be the best. Strong and proud, calm, and a touch feminine, but could rip your head right off if you crossed her. This was achieved by giving her a rounded silhouette, but including a wealth of horns and spikes in less ostentatious places, like at the point of her jaw, the back of her head, and between the armored plates that run down her spine. This way, she could choose whether to be threatening or approachable. The wings were a bit of a challenge to work out because I had to decide would they be attached to the body in the middle of the back or on the sides like arms. Since I wanted them to appear functional, I realized that either way, the wings flapping would necessitate their structure and musculature to be arm-like. Since she already has front legs, I decided that her wings would be like an appendage set of arms coming up out of her pre-existing shoulders. Kathy really liked the style I did for my dad's dragon in my Father's Day video, so I gave her dragon many and varied types of scales, granting her interesting contrast and texture. In truth, I do enjoy tiny little repetitive details in my work. Yes, I suppose it is tedious and time-consuming, but there's something soothing in the repetition, and it helps me to get lost in the process, so by the time I'm done, I can stand back to see the piece as a whole and be pleased with what I've accomplished. For the line work, I use my favorite Tombow hard point brush pen, of course. I bought a pack of them on Amazon, and I broke out a brand new one for this project to make sure my lines were crisp and rich with plenty of ink. One thing you may notice is that I'm inking the words backward, or right to left. I'm right-handed, so I like to lay in line work right to left so that the side of my right hand doesn't smudge my pencil before I have a chance to lay the ink down. If I were left-handed like my dad, I would do it right to left.
everybody, what do you think of my video so far? If you like it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell. Why am I doing my intermission in a Snapchat filter? Because it's freaking adorable, that's why. Rawr. I wanted to take some time out to talk about commissions. Now, from what I've experienced and from what I've heard of other artists, it's quite a quagmire to wade through. But I have a few tips to share with you that I've learned over the years so that maybe they can help you as they have helped me. First and foremost, pricing. I always did art because I love it, and I was always so flattered when someone wanted to buy something that I thought of as a doodle or a practice or just fun. And because I was so flattered, I tended to undersell myself, which cheated me for money that I'd earned, but also undervalued my work to my buyer. On the other hand, I didn't want to charge so much that it would be cost prohibitive, but I know we've all seen pieces that we thought were ridiculous sell for millions and millions of dollars. My work is mainly ink and or pencil on a two-dimensional surface. Now, some artists charge by the hour and some artists charge by the size. I kind of do a little bit of both. I create a base price by multiplying the length times the width of my picture. Now, for a 16 by 20 piece, for example, 16 by 20 equals $320, and that's my base price. And I look at it and see if it's an already finished piece, did it take me a lot more time than usual for that size? If it's a commission, will it take me longer than usual to do? Then I might add more to the base price from there. I find that this generally gives me a good price that the client is happy with, and also that I feel like I'm getting enough money for the amount of work that I put into it. This doesn't work for all pieces, of course, and some pieces are just not priceable. For instance, this color pencil portrait that I did of my grandfather when he had passed away, 16 by 20, however, I have no clue what I would charge for it. That shirt alone took me months to get the plaid right and all the shades and shadows and different colors and things. Fortunately, I didn't do it in order to sell it, so what I did was make prints of it and just gave them for free to my family. In fact, most of what I do is just gifts or stuff that I keep, so I don't generally worry about pricing stuff, although it's good practice to see what I would charge for things. Right along with the pricing goes the question of when. When do I ask to get paid for my work? If it's a work that's already completed and a customer is just buying it because they like it, well, they just pay for it right then and there, and that's fine. Now, if it's a commission, it's a little bit different. I've found in recent years the value of requiring a non-refundable deposit of half of the asking price up front. And yes, this does make sure that I don't do a whole bunch of work just to have the rug pulled out from under me so that I'm doing all this work for nothing. But the main thing is that it separates the people who have great ideas from the people who have great ideas and are serious about having you do something about it. Because when people find out I'm an artist, they're like, oh, I should have you do this, I should have you do that. You know, everybody has great ideas, which is great, but it's all talk if there's no money on the table. Then, of course, once the commission is completed, I exchange the finished product for the rest of the money and everybody goes home happy. The third tip I have for you is communication. Now, in a normal circumstance, I like to have a preliminary meeting with the client to be able to, have them get to know me get to know them, and bring my sketchbook and a pen or pencil just to make sure that I can jot down some ideas, sketch some things out, and really get a good idea of what we're looking at. The only thing is, with the pandemic going on, we really haven't been able to get together as much as we'd like, so my clients and I during this time have mainly done our communication through texting and by email, which has worked out super well. Now, the thing is to have communication going all the way through. For example, with Kathy, in this dragon piece, I would do at least once a week progress report, and I would do the preliminary sketching, send them to her for approval. She would give me her feedback or any changes she wanted me to make. Then I would move on to the next step of the line work and send it to her for approval, and so on and so forth. At this point, the client has invested money, and it's only courteous to keep them in the loop and let them know that you're hard at work. Now, for colored pencil portraits, I don't like to send where I am at the time, unfinished portraits, because it can be a little scary halfway through, they don't have eyes or something. It can be really creepy, especially since I do a lot of deceased people, it can be a little sensitive. In that case, then, I would like to send an email or a text at least once a week describing what what I'm doing, what part I'm on at the moment, and what I like specifically about how it's turning out. It's very important to be enthusiastic, professional, and quick to reply to a client's message. The final tip is, they're not all gonna be home runs.
Give it up, kid. Can't win them all.
In my almost 20 years of selling artwork, I have had 2 commissions where the customer wasn't completely satisfied. The first one was an experiment of sorts, and we knew going in that it may not turn out perfectly. But I was pretty happy with the results, and so was she. But then the person that she got it for, not so happy. I did offer to see what I could do to help make it better, but unfortunately we just weren't able to do that at the time. The second one flopped because I broke my own first commandment. The customer was very insistent, and I should have politely and professionally declined it, but I did it anyway, and it flopped. Experience in communication will largely prevent instances like these, and these were both close to a decade ago, if not more. The thing you have to keep in mind is to be flexible, and if there's something you can do to fix it, well, that's great. If there's not anything you can really do to fix it, well, don't let it crush you. All you can do is just see what contributed to that happening and chalk it up to a lesson learned and move on. I hope these tips will help you in the future in selling your art, but for now, I have a commission to finish, so it's time for color.
Kathy and I decided on a gold and dark red theme for the dragon, which turned out to be a stunning contrast to the rest of the piece. I used a medium red for the base color, then 2 shades of purple to make it darker, not only shading each scale, but under the larger plate armor down the spine and on the face, then playing with the folds in the underwing and the tautness of the outer wing. I do love how the underwing came out, looking lush and real without the overuse of line work. This lets the viewer's brains tell them what they should be seeing. Remember last time when I said our brains lie to us and as artists we need to retrain it? We can also use our technique to help our viewers' brains lie to them and fill in shapes and edges where there aren't any. Pretty sneaky, huh? The reds and purples are the same colors I used for the little girl's shirt to aesthetically link her to the dragon, but I colored everything around it first because when I was coloring the dragon, I accidentally got red ink in the blue sky via an unobservantly placed hand. I was able to get most of it blended out by a colorless blender, then hide the dark spot with another sky color, but I didn't want to take any chances of that happening again. The big green field is broken up by the magical aura around the words, but to make the rest of the expanse interesting instead of flat, I used several shades of green to create the shadows and a mottled effect around the girl, dragon, and tufts of grass indicated in the line work. And one of the rules of distance is that what is nearest to you is brighter, more saturated in color, and more detailed. And what is in the distance is darker, desaturated, and less detailed. This is why the grass by the dragon is so much darker, and in the far distance, I used shades of gray to darken and desaturate the green at the same time. When I was adding the gold gel pen on the diamond-shaped scales, I figured the gold wouldn't show as much where there were larger shadows, so I just left it dark or put dots of gold. I realized that really accentuated the shadows, giving it a much greater sense of depth to the larger structures. Next, I added white and gold dots to the finer scales and details. Then I spontaneously decided white dots were needed around the dragon to hint at a magical aura, as if she had just undergone the transformation. The white rim lighting I added on the little girl created a nice contrast, especially on her legs and feet, bringing out the pinker areas of knees and the soles of her feet. For some drawings, the gel pen accents don't really make that much of a difference in what the video sees, except maybe the white, but in this piece they pull everything together. I thoroughly enjoyed this drawing, and I'm very proud of how it turned out, not only because of the end result, but because of all I learned, like making those little curled toes, the tail that looks as much like jewelry as an appendage, and leaving parts of the highlights out to make the shadows really pop. The funny thing is, I didn't have an envelope or anything big enough to put the piece in to protect it when Kathy took it home. So I had made this envelope out of a lawn clippings bag and some masking tape. It fit great, and I had it in there when Kathy came, and I took it out for the big reveal, but we could not get it back in for anything. Oh well, the main thing is she loved it. Well, thank you so much for joining me on another RaiMagination adventure. If you enjoyed yourself, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. As always, love yourself, love each other, and keep on keeping on.